Combat Evolved was a huge success back in 2001. It was the reason why anyone should own an original Xbox. And with its success, Microsoft would tell Bungie to make a sequel, which Bungie got right to work on. With the extra funds, the team added in ideas, enemies, and story ideas that were cut from CE. The time crunch of a 3-year development cycle would be the least of Bungie's worries, however. Halo 2 had a rocky development cycle, with a lack of leadership to start off that really hindered the first year of development. Then it came down to the game being way too big for the original Xbox. Yeah, Halo 2 was so big that the original Xbox struggled to run it, leading to the game having to be cut down and reworked. They also had to have a playable demo for 2003's E3, which they did accomplish, but it was a total mess, as the demo would crash if players went off the beaten path, or moved too fast and didn't let the game's scripted moments play out. Then there was the fact that Halo 2 was going to be part of the big push for Xbox Live, Microsoft's multiplayer service, which was also a nightmare to develop for, so much so that more content had to be cut. This would be Halo 2's development cycle. There was too much meat on the sandwich, and it had to be cut down constantly to make sure the game didn't murder the original Xbox, and that it would be released on time. The last year of Halo 2's development cycle made what Bungie went through for the original Halo's 9-month hellscape look like a walk on the beach. The 70-person strong team barely got Halo 2 out the door before its release date on November 9th, 2004. But it was very clear that the game had some very obvious problems. Luckily, Halo 2 was still a rousing success, and a massive hit with fans, and the Xbox sold 2.4 million copies in North America alone. The online mode was also a complete success, and was another major reason to get an Xbox. Let's not get a fat head, though. That was then, and this is now. Is Halo 2 still a good game, or has it suffered from age and nostalgia? Before we get into it, I do own the original PC release and Xbox versions of the game. However, we will be playing Halo 2 on the Master Chief Collection with the new graphics, as it's the most accessible option. But I will still show old graphics when it comes to comparison, or when I need to. Let's get into it. Halo 2's story takes place a month after the events of Halo CE, and instead of starting off with the Master Chief, we get a court hearing? A Golden Elite by the name of Thel 'Vadamee is standing trial for his failure to protect the Halo ring from the shenanigans of the previous game. Yeah, it turns out that there are consequences for our actions. But this cutscene alone shows that Halo 2 wants to be more cinematic, and it succeeds. The dialogue, the music, the camera work is amazing. My wife watched me play the game, and she, someone who had zero connection to Halo before, was immediately invested.
When you first saw Halo, were you blinded by its majesty?
Blinded?
Paralyzed? Dumbstruck?
No.
Yet the humans were able to evade your ships, land on the sacred ring, and desecrate it with their filthy footsteps.
Noble hierarchs, surely you understand that once the parasite attacked...
There will be order in this council.
We get to see two new aliens within the Covenant, the frail-looking prophets, and Halo's interpretation of Wookiees called brutes. The three prophets sitting in front of Thel are known as the Prophets of Regret, Truth, and Mercy, and they are the overall leaders of the Covenant. Sadly, the three do find Thel ultimately responsible for the destruction of Halo, and he has to be punished for his failure, having him publicly humiliated, stripped of his rank, and branded with his heresy. Holy shit! The fact we get to see the other side of the war, its politics, and how it treats failure, is an immediate fuck yes from me. The Covenant in CE were at best generic aliens with some funny dialogue. With this cutscene, though, we see that the Covenant are a much more complex group instead of just something to shoot at. But before we get further into it, Let's see what's going on with Chief.
The plating was about to fail. There's viscosity throughout the gel layer. Optics, totally fried. And let's not even talk about the power supply. You know how expensive this gear is, son?
Tell that to the Covenant.
Chief's side of the story starts with him getting a new upgraded suit and our tutorial session, though we also get returning character Sergeant Major Avery Johnson. Of course, we have a ton of questions about how John and Johnson made it back to Earth, but you gotta read a book for that, so we ain't covering it.
No, please, get these out of here!
Here's where Halo 2's story begins to jump between what's going on with Chief and Thel. Where John is being rewarded for his actions, Thel is being publicly punished for his failure. I like this because it shows how our actions have affected not only humanity, but the Covenant as well. We also get to meet Keyes' daughter Miranda, who is given his medal because, well, you know. The celebration is cut short with the Covenant fleet appearing just outside Earth's defensive guns' effective range. Strangely though, the Covenant fleet is small, which makes the human leader Lord Hood ponder what the hell is going on. But he orders Chief and everyone else to defend the orbital defense grid at all costs, which we get right to it. Cairo Station is our first level for combat, and immediately we are hit with new guns and new mechanics. Halo 2 does away with the assault rifle, and in exchange, we get two new human weapons, the SMG and battle rifle. The SMG is a short-ranged machine gun, which is effective in short bursts, or can kill a blue elite in one full auto burst. The battle rifle gives us a medium to long-range main gun that offers decent and consistent damage. However, Halo 2 gives us the new mechanic, dual-wielding. Though the weapon options for dual-wielding are limited, and you drop your second weapon if you melee or throw grenades, the pure firepower it brings to the table, as well as the combinations, can be extremely deadly in exchange. An SMG mixed with a plasma weapon can make killing elites and jackals easier, as plasma weapons strip their shields, and the SMG mops them up. Or you can use two plasma rifles to just melt everything in front of you. But nothing ever beats two needlers. Remember in Halo 1 where I said if a target gets filled with enough needles, they explode? Well,
Zerking!
Needlers make most of the sections of this game a joke when they are available. Aside from that, Halo 2 does away with med packs, so when our shields are broken, we just find cover. If we don't get fully autoed. Yeah, our shields have been reduced, so we have less shields to work with, but the trade-off is that they regenerate faster. But it doesn't really matter, as depending on the difficulty, it takes anywhere between 10 to 3 shots to break your shields. This was a massive complaint when it came to Halo 2's difficulty, as it makes sections extremely unfair. As if we weren't hiding behind a wall or corner, we're just fucked. This shield system is a massive reason why Halo 2 is so hard compared to the others. But let's get back to the mission. Fighting through Cairo Station is much like fighting through the Pillar of Autumn, getting us used to the new mechanics and the movement of Master Chief, as well as showing us that enemy AI has also been reworked and tweaked. Elites will no longer charge you down, and if they are low on grunts, they will hide and take cover. It's a small tweak to the AI, but I appreciate it. We also get new variants of elites with the jetpacks, who add a new vertical element to the combat. We also get introduced to a brand new enemy type, the drones, an annoying set of flying enemies who buzz around the battlefield and swarm you. They can't take a lot of punishment, but trying to find cover from these little bastards is a challenge, as they can just hang out above you. Stay calm and find an area with a roof or floor above you, so you can hide under it and deny the drones an angle to shoot you, and you'll be fine. Cairo was a rather quick mission, as it's just pushing the Covenant off the Cairo Station, then quickly retasking us to disable a bomb they brought aboard, which we do in short order. But the Covenant managed to break through our defensive lines due to them blowing up several other stations, leaving a hole in our defensive ring. This leads us to one of the most awesome cutscenes in Halo history.
Just one question. What if you miss?
I won't.
Mission 2 has us moving down to Earth, and it turns out that the hologram guy from the opening cutscene is the leader of this accidental invasion. The guy is called the Prophet of Regret, and we are tasked with his capture. But before we can do that, our gunships are shot down by a new Covenant vehicle, the Scarab. The Scarab may be a new vehicle, but it's really only a set piece for this mission and the next one. Mission 2 and 3 has us fighting through the streets of the city of New Mombasa, while chasing the Scarab both on foot and in vehicles. These missions are fast-paced, pushing us to fight through alleys, courtyards, and tunnels without much room to breathe. We also get to use every human weapon in these two missions, from the sniper rifle to the shotgun and rocket launcher. We also get to fight hunters again. Don't worry guys, I know the best way to handle them!
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Aside from the pistol being nerfed, the biggest change for weapons goes to the rocket launcher. It got buffed to be able to lock on to enemy vehicles, making it extremely reliable for taking out enemy armor. But it wasn't the only gun that changed. Vehicles also got an update. Human vehicles, like the Warthog and Scorpion tank, can now be destroyed. The more damage any vehicle takes, the worse the vehicle looks to tell you how close it is to being destroyed. Though it feels like all vehicles are extremely fragile now, as a few shots from anything bigger than a plasma pistol can do a lot of damage to vehicles really quickly. This makes driving Warthogs or anything that isn't a Scorpion tank a really annoying task, as I feel like I'm just asking to die when hopping in most of these things. Granted, I still prefer this to the invincible tank and hog from Halo 1, but that's more because of the multiplayer balance than anything else. These two missions of fighting through New Mombasa are fun, but aren't very story-heavy, which I find a bit frustrating, because it's the invasion of Earth. You know, humanity's homeworld and the very thing we were trying to help prevent from being discovered in the first game. The Covenant are here, and it's treated as just a regular thing, which really sucks because fighting on Earth should mean a lot more than how it's being treated here. After destroying the Scarab, Chief, Cortana, and Johnson quickly make their way back to Miranda's ship, the In Amber Clad, as the Prophet of Regret is planning to do a slip-space jump inside the city. When he does, our ship piggybacks them, and we leave Earth to parts unknown. After that, we jump back to Thel, being dragged through a prison area by the newly introduced Covenant race, the Brutes. He is taken to a special chamber within the Covenant's holy city called the Mausoleum of the Arbiter. Two of the prophets, Truth and Mercy, reveal that, yeah, Halo's destruction was Thel's fault, but they are aware that it doesn't make him a heretic, instead revealing a different elite who has been spreading a message of rebellion against the Covenant through the elites, which Truth and Mercy want Thel to put down. Thel, of course, points out that he has been stripped of his command, and that he has nothing to go after the traitors. But I'll let this scene speak for itself.
Not as you are, no, but become the Arbiter. And you shall be set loose against this heresy with our blessing.
What of the Council?
The tasks you must undertake as the Arbiter are perilous, suicidal. You will die, as each Arbiter has before you. The Council will have their corpse.
What would you have your Arbiter do?
This single scene has done more to build on the history of the Covenant, and even more so for the Elites, than the first game did. We are told that the Arbiter's role is one of sacrifice, to regain one's lost honor, and that it has had a massive role throughout Covenant history. The weight, atmosphere, and history we are being told is amazing, and I really like that we are getting a more fleshed out Covenant. After donning the armor, Arbiter joins the Spec Ops Strike Force, and again, this scene is awesome! The Elites on board are going through a sort of pre-battle speech, and when the commander makes a point to Arbiter that the regular troops matter and he does not, the commander is surprised when Arbiter agrees. Then we finally deploy onto the Forerunner facility the heretics are hiding in, and we jump into Mission 4. This was a massive surprise for players back in 2004. We are playing as the bad guys? Not only that, but as an elite? The same guys we have probably killed hundreds of at this point? That's a massive change. But in my opinion, it's an extremely welcome one. Being able to see how the Covenant do things and being on the other side is a breath of fresh air. We get a few more tools added to the sandbox here. First and most importantly, we are given the Elite Camouflage ability. I didn't talk about it in Halo 1, but it was rare to get that power-up. But here, it's an ability that Arbiter always has. For a few seconds, you go completely invisible, making you able to get the drop on enemies or sneak past problematic sections. However, if you attack in any way, your camo will break and will need a few seconds to recharge before you can use it again. This single ability adds so much to the strategy and options within the game. Getting the ability to hide when things get rough, choose to ignore fights altogether, or quickly eliminate more problematic enemies than fade away? This ability is the most fun thing to use when available to us, but it's not the only new toy we get access to. This mission introduces several new weapons: the Covenant Carbine, Beam Rifle, Sentinel Beam, Fuel Rod, and the famous Energy Sword. The Carbine is a single-shot rifle on par with the Battle Rifle, and the Beam Rifle is just the Covenant Sniper Rifle. But the other three were all in Halo 1 as enemy-only weapons, and now we get to use them! The Sentinel Beam is a constant hot beam of energy that does constant damage over time, but overheats like any other plasma weapon. The Fuel Rod in Halo 1 always blew up when the grunt carrying it died, but it's a rocket launcher that is a little weaker than the human one, but holds more ammo to compensate. Then, there's the Energy Sword.
What's to understand about swish, swish, stab? It's a fucking sword, dude. It's not a fighter jet.
The Energy Sword is a guaranteed instant kill on most targets. Not only that, but at certain distances, we are able to lunge and close long distances really quick, or lunge up to enemies who are on slightly higher elevations from us. The Energy Sword is one of the best weapons we got access to in this game, and it's a real treat to be able to use it. For now, these are all the new mechanics and tools in the game, so I'll be focusing on the story for the next little bit. As Arbiter and the Spec Ops force infiltrate the facility and quickly dispatch the first floor of guards, they stumble upon a rather striking sight. The Heretics are working with the Sentinels. Yeah, in Halo 1 we saw the Sentinels fighting against the Covenant, so it's really weird to see the Sentinels fighting alongside Heretic forces. But we dispatch a hangar full of enemies and clear out the rest of the station, finding the Heretic leader taking off in a Banshee. Chasing after him in our own Banshee, we and a friendly Phantom clear out the Heretic forces that are left over around the station, as we look for where he went. We do eventually find where he did go, and I really wish we hadn't.
Oh, hell no!
Following the Heretic leader to the next part of the station, we encounter an old enemy, the Flood. They have had their own little tweaks and changes. For one, Flood corpses do not get back up anymore on their own. If the small infection form manages to hop onto an infected corpse, they will reanimate it. However, we are able to destroy Flood corpses now, if we have explosive weapons, an energy weapon, or a sword. But not only that, if you break the arms off a combat form, it will wander around until the infection form breaks out and will go hunt for a different body if one is available. Turns out that the station was holding Flood samples, and the Heretics accidentally unleashed them, which led to the station being overrun even before we got here. But the Heretic leader is still our primary target, and chasing him throughout the station, we eventually have to drop the station into the gas giant to flush him out. Chasing the Heretic back to the hangar we cleared out earlier, we confront him in person, and he reveals who made him into a Heretic. 343, guilty, Spark. Yeah, turns out the floating ball survived the destruction of Halo and made his way to the station. Here he met the Heretic leader and his strike group, who were originally a part of Thal's fleet, and just told them the truth about their religion in Halo, which led to this mess. So if Spark can just explain it, then
happy to assist you.
Well, fuck me, I guess. Yeah, we do get a small boss fight here, but it doesn't last long. He throws out 2 holograms, but if we just cheese the fight with the sword or, you know, target him directly, we instantly win. And though Spark is sad at the leader's death and is annoyed that Arbiter keeps calling him an oracle, he is interrupted by the brute Tartarus, who came to pick Arbiter up and casually kidnaps Spark. After that, we cut back to the in amber clad in their chase of regret, where both sides stumble upon another Halo ring. Yep, as 343 said in the last game, there are other installations, so it makes sense that we would stumble upon more rings. But the plan hasn't changed. We are to capture Regret while Miranda figures out where the ring's index is. Dropping in hard and fast with a squad of ODSTs, tougher and more accurate Marines, we make a beachhead on the new ring and we fight our way through Covenant defenses, while also stumbling upon Regret's holograms. If we sit and wait for a minute, Cortana can translate what he's saying, giving us a bit more info about the Covenant's beliefs and religions. And to say he's a fucking idiot is an understatement.
In a gesture of peace and reconciliation, the prophets promised to find the means of the Forerunner's transcendence, and to share this knowledge with the elites. The elites promised to defend the prophets as they searched. A simple arrangement that has become our binding covenant.
Transcendence, huh? More like mass suicide.
Yeah, the fact that these guys have zero clue what Halo does is a massive red flag. Turns out the Covenant's great journey is activating the Halo array, and they think it will let them rise to godhood. In reality, it's a universal delete System 32 that they're pushing for. And since we're on the ring, Regret plans on activating the Halo array. So our job goes from capturing Regret to putting a bullet between his eyes, real quick. So you've probably noticed that the Chief's side of the story is really short compared to a lot of stuff. But this is where I need to say this. Halo 2 is the Covenant's story. A lot of the conversations are about the Covenant's beliefs, their politics, and how the Covenant interact with one another. Hell, during some underwater sections, we get to listen in on some conversations between Regret and the other High Prophets, and learn that killing Regret might be what Truth wants, showing that the Covenant are a much more complex, and their leadership isn't as united as we once thought. However, when we finally get to Regret's position...
That's the largest Covenant fleet I've ever seen. The largest anyone's ever seen. Get inside the temple and kill Regret before it can stop us.
Yeah. Time for a kill and dash, I guess. The Regret boss fight is... well... yeah. After killing Regret, the Covenant begin to bombard the lake we are on, leading to Chief having to jump into the water to survive, only to be pulled down deep into the water by... something. So Chief's MIA, how's the Covenant end of things?
He needs some milk!
Ah! That ain't good. Turns out, Chief's actions just can't stop fucking with the Covenant. With the death of Regret, Truth gave the order for the Brutes to take over as the protectors of the Prophets, and slowly started to replace the military command structure with them too. This pisses off the elite something fierce. We do get to see the frustration with the decision, with the Spec Ops commander voicing his concern, but Truth shuts it down. As Arbiter steps into the room, Truth and Mercy assign us the mission of getting the index from the new Halo, so the Covenant can, you know, fire the damn thing. But how did they learn about this, I hear you asking from behind your screen? Well, you remember Spark? Yeah, they basically just kept turning him on and off again until the ball man answered their questions, sending us down into the next two missions. The first mission for Arbiter on the ring is us infiltrating a massive defensive wall on the ring with two new Sentinel variants. There's the Gold Sentinel, but also this massive chonker of a robot called the Enforcer. Enforce these nuts! Enforcer Sentinels are no joke, having not only their own version of the Needler that will tear you apart in seconds, but they also have mortars to use on you if you choose to hide away from it. And it also has another surprise tool that will hurt us later! Okay, but now I have to ask, why the hell do these things exist? And why is there a massive wall? The other Halo didn't have these things, so what happened?
Proceed to the objective. We'll hold out as long as we can. Get her off me! Suppressive fire! Suppressive fire!
Ah, that explains it. Turns out we were sent into the wall to turn off the shield generator that was protecting the library. However, it wasn't actually protecting the library. It was keeping the flood breach contained. So since we just opened the door, shit gets out of control. Not only that, but we also find that Miranda and her forces are also in the goddamn walls with us, leading to us having to deal with Flood with shotguns and rocket launchers. Fuck! Yeah, the Flood problem's getting worse and worse, and when we get outside, we are met with an elite Spec Ops force who are deployed to retrieve the Index, along with the Spec Ops commander. Though with us finding them, we join in on the assault on the library, and this is where I want to point out something. Aside from this mission being a bit more wide and open, the rest of the game isn't. Lots of Halo 2's missions and maps are very compact, tight, and straightforward, giving us very little to explore in the locations we visit. Granted, the designs and locations are so well wrapped into the narrative, and again, the story isn't about the Ring or humanity's struggle. It's about the Covenant and how their story turns out, from the perspective of the guy we fucked over in the first game. However, during a lot of firefights, I found that my maneuverability was constantly stopped short, or that enemies like the Flood were easily able to close the gap between me and them. This also doesn't help when you want to get out of a situation that could lead to your death, like with the Enforcer Sentinel being able to grab a vehicle and crush it. With the level design, unless you're driving a Ghost or Warthog, you will be grabbed and instantly killed. This also led to other problems where you are funneled into kill zones on harder difficulties, where there is little cover. So we either get stuck being drowned by sheer weight of bodies, or get killed in seconds because there's no cover. This leads to level design that, although looks amazing and still tells more story without saying it, it leads to frustrating combat experiences where a lot of my deaths felt like bullshit because the level design either hid enemies for me, was a kill zone I was forced into, or I was overwhelmed by enemies in a tight space. But, getting back on track. Fighting our way to the library, we get on an elevator and sadly have to leave the Spec Ops commander behind. But Miranda and her forces got ahead of us, so it's a race to the Index as we both fight through hordes of Flood. Once we get to the Index, Miranda and Johnson have already gotten it, leading to a small fight breaking out where Arbiter manages to disarm and beat both of them, only for Tartarus to show up, take the Index, and reveal that he was sent there by the High Prophets to kill Arbiter. Throwing Arbiter down a hole the Index was floating over. This leads to us finally catching up with John and what happened to him.
What is that?
To all your sins.
What? What the fuck?
Yeah, you remember how we found Captain Keyes in the first game? This is what he, along with all the others the Flood infected, were being turned into. A massive organism that is extremely intelligent and powerful. We also see that the Gravemind grabbed Arbiter as he was falling, showing that we are under the library and that this thing has been down here for a damn while. The Gravemind, using the monitor of the Halo Ring and the reanimated Prophet of Regret, tries to convince Arbiter that Halo is dangerous and that the Prophets not only betrayed him, but lied about what Halo truly was for years. However, even with the Chief backing up what the Gravemind is saying, Arbiter still doesn't fully believe it, leading to the Gravemind having to show the truth. The massive Flood intelligence decides to send Chief and Arbiter after the Index, but he is sending them in two different spots. Now, both Chief and Arbiter's plots happen a little ahead and behind one another, so we are going to focus on Chief's section first, then Arbiter's. Chief is teleported onto the Covenant Holy City of High Charity, and we are tasked with chasing truth and mercy throughout the city in the middle of a Covenant civil war. This is where Halo 2 peaks, gameplay-wise. We are limited down to Covenant weapons only and have very little support, as our only allies are some captured Marines we free, but the Civil War helps balance it out. But we do need to talk about the last enemy type in Halo 2. The Brutes. Now, the Brutes were not finished when Halo 2 was released. They weren't given a flinch mechanic, and they can take lots of punishment before they go down. Not only that, but they get their own annoying new toy called the Brute Shot, a grenade launcher. But that's not all. If a Brute sees all his grunts die, or watches another Brute bite it, they go berserk, making them charge down anyone nearby. The best strategy to deal with Brutes is headshots with the carbine or beam rifle, or just use the Twin Needler combo to kill them fast. However, remember that Civil War? Yep, there is a full-on war going on between the Elites and Brutes, where we can take advantage of the chaos. We can let the enemy tear each other apart, or join in on the chaos by helping one side, then eliminating them ourselves. Or rush through the chaos and let the firefight continue without us. Sometimes, though, we are forced to engage, and during those engagements, Covenant reinforcements will fill the room, adding more factors to combat, where you need to make split-second decisions to either fight or try to flee the room. But the best part about this mission and the next is that we are in the Covenant Holy City. Though, again, most of the places we fight through are tight areas, the city feels so alive and complex. Garden areas with full ecosystems living in them, with a massive city in the distance. Hell, we revisit areas that we saw in cutscenes and get to fight in them. However, something else happens while we are fighting through the city. An Amber Clad shows up. Now, last time we saw the ship, it was parked over the library. The Flood-controlled library. And Cortana said that she detected 0 life signs aboard it. Uh-oh. Yeah, as we finish the mission, we see Tartarus and his brutes escorting the Prophets, Miranda, Johnson, and Spark to a landing platform, where they get jumped by Flood infection forms. While Tartarus and his brutes easily dispatch most of them, one sneaks by and latches on to Mercy, and begins strangling the old fuck. But before Tartarus can remove it, Truth tells him to leave Mercy to his fate, and the Brute Chieftain and Truth take off, barely missing Chief. Seeing the currently being strangled Mercy, Chief asks him where Truth is going. Mercy tells us that Truth is heading back to Earth to finish what the Covenant started, also saying to us that this time, none of us will be left behind. Chief, showing the old guy some ironic mercy, kills the infection form, which in turn kills Mercy. Okay, so multiple problems. 1. Truth is taking the Forerunner ship back to Earth, and that thing is nearly indestructible. 2. Tartarus took Miranda and Johnson to the ring to fire it off. And 3. We are currently stuck on a space station in the middle of a chaotic civil war and a flood outbreak. So to say the situation is fucked is an understatement. Cortana, however, tells us to prioritize Truth, as he is the bigger concern. And if Tartarus does activate the Halo, she will just do what we did back in Halo 1. Use the in-Amber class fusion reactor to nuke both High Charity and the ring. But she doesn't want to risk remote detonation, so we are forced to leave our companion behind. Yeah, remember that Civil War problem we took optional part in? Turns out war leaves a lot of corpses around. And since the Flood got access to gunships, they start to airdrop themselves all over the place, while everyone was stuck in the chaos. So as we backtrack our way through the chaos, the city is quickly being overrun with flood growths and combat forms. Brute forces are throwing up makeshift barricades to keep flood forces out, but yeah, that shit ain't working. Not only that, but remember the massive flood form, the Gravemind? Turns out, he got aboard High Charity and is giving public service announcements.
The parasite did not defeat the Forerunners, and it shall not defeat us.
Arrogant creature. Your deaths will be instantaneous, while we shall suffer the progress of infinitude.
Now is not the time to lay about. Now is the time to run the fuck away.
Once we fight through High Charity, we reach one of the energy tubes powering Truth's ship, and hop into it so we can get to the ship faster. However, as Chief leaves, he promises Cortana that once he deals with Truth, he will come back for her. And this is the end of Chief's section. So now, we will jump back to Arbiter. Arbiter is teleported to the cliffside across from Delta Halo's control center, and here we are fighting only brutes, jackals, and drones, while we get elites and grunts to support us. This mission lets us get deep into the Covenant Civil War as we cut down brutes left and right, and unlike Chief, where we could leave the Covenant to figure it out for themselves, we are actively thrusted into the position of leader, fighting our way through brute defenses to get to the control center. However, as Arbiter gets to the area of the control center, we reunite with the Spec Ops commander and fill him in on the situation. Though the problem now is that Tartarus and his brutes have taken over the control center and locked it down. So how are we going to get in there?
We'll break the control room door.
That'll do. Yeah, the last mission of Halo 2 is us fighting our way to the Scarab so we can use it to break into the control center. It is a brutal and heavy fight, but luckily we get hunters on our side, and finally having these massive tanks on our side for once is a breath of fresh air. Watching these massive hulks push brutes around and melt enemy ranks with their cannons is always a treat to watch. But don't let them get swarmed, as they can be overwhelmed and killed. As we finally get to the Scarab, it turns out that the brutes brought Johnson and a squad of Marines here. And in the confusion, Johnson and his boys quickly took over the Scarab. But instead of turning us into ash, Johnson extends the Scarab of Friendship. This section has us escort Johnson and the Scarab in a Banshee. And it fucking sucks. Remember the point about the level design being too tight? There isn't much room to maneuver the Banshee, and with how fragile the damn thing is, and the fact that enemy Banshees endlessly spawn in, and one burst from them is enough to cripple your Banshee, not to mention the ground vehicles taking pot shots at you, it makes for an extremely slow and frustrating section. But when we do finally get the Banshee and Scarab to the end, we use it to blow open the door, and by fighting through brute honor guards and captains, we are finally able to confront Tartarus. Turns out, Tartarus is trying and failing to convince Miranda to activate the ring, because only humans can activate it. Not only that, but he brought Spark here with him. When Arbiter and Johnson confront the Brute Chieftain, we finally see Arbiter break through the Covenant beliefs and ask 343 Guilty Spark what Halo's purpose is, which Spark tells everyone in the room. The rings are a super weapon that will kill everyone in the galaxy to deny the flood of food source. Being told the truth from the direct source, Arbiter tries to reason with Tartarus that the prophets not only betrayed the elites, but betrayed the brutes with this lie of a great journey. But Tartarus, unable to believe what he's hearing, yeets Spark at Johnson while forcing Miranda to activate the Halo, leading to the last boss fight of Halo 2. This boss fight is much better than the other two, but it's still an annoying-ass fight all the same. Tartarus has a shield around him that makes him invincible so long as it's up. The only way to drop it is to lure him out into the open so that Johnson can hit him with a beam rifle and make him drop his shield. This fight can be an atrocious slog, as Tartarus will instantly kill you and anyone else that comes close to him, and has a squad of brutes endlessly spawning in to reinforce him. Luckily, I am a cowardly bitch, and I believe in the technology of birds! Yeah, fuck you. With the death of Tartarus, Miranda is able to safely stop the Halo from firing. However, stopping Halo from firing didn't stop everything. As Spark reveals, all of the Halo rings went into standby mode, meaning that even though we stopped Halo, all someone has to do is find something called the Ark and use that to tell the rings to fire. Arbiter asks where the Ark is, then we cut back to Earth, with Troop's ship making its approach and the human defense fleet going to intercept, until Chief calls, leading to the iconic line,
"Master Chief, you mind telling me what you're doing on that ship?"
"Sir, finishing this fight."
That's it?
And that's Halo 2. Yeah, it ends on a cliffhanger, and yeah, this ending pissed a lot of people off. Originally, Halo 2 was supposed to end with Chief and Arbiter teaming up and killing Truth and stopping the Ark, with the next game being us fighting nothing but the Flood. But with Halo 2's hell development and the fact that it was a nightmare to get the story figured out, it all led to this ending. Doesn't excuse it, but it helps explain why Halo 2 feels like it just ends out of nowhere. Despite Halo 2's campaign ending the way it did, and it being a game held together by duct tape and a prayer, Halo 2 was a massive success, more than doubling the original game's sales. Not only that, but being one of the games on Xbox that helped push Xbox Live. Halo 2 was one of the most popular online games and did so much for the competitive scene. I also forgot to put it anywhere in the script here, but the music for Halo 2 is still one of the best video game soundtracks there is out there. Just all of the music in this game is just amazing to listen to. Here are some examples. Genuinely, out of all of the Halos, I think Halo 2 has one of the best soundtracks in the main games. It's awesome. It has epic orchestral music, epic Covenant music, epic rock and roll soundtracks that are just amazing to listen to. Honestly, you are doing yourself a disservice not listening to these things. As well, with the Master Chief Collection, Halo 2 got a massive amount of love. Not only was the entire game and its cutscenes remastered, but it also got its own terminals that you can find throughout the campaign. The terminals go into more background of the Arbiter and Thel 'Vadamee, with the first 3 being an assassination profile of Arbiter, while the rest jump between the history and role of the Arbiter and how it went from being a rank of leadership and warrior king to a role of redemption and shame. Halo 2 did a lot to force Bungie to step back and think about what the hell they were doing. The development hell and crunch the company went through left them in a space where they knew they couldn't do that kind of brutal work again. The Halo team came together with a brand new plan, making sure that leadership was strong and that the story was clear and simple, taking everything that worked from Halo 1 and 2 and leaving out all that didn't, would lead to where Halo reached its highest high. So come back next time when we cover Bungie's magnum opus for Halo, Halo 3. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell icon for notifications, and join the channel or Patreon to not only support me, but also get to see videos a few weeks or a few days earlier. And before we go, we will be taking a small break from Halo, because you guys completed a challenge that I made on stream. And now I have to look at Persona 5, a game that I have had zero interest in, but now am obligated to look at. See you all next time.